Finding yourself stress or boredom snacking too often throughout the day? It turns out that your snacking structure may be a subconscious self care structure that just needs some tweaks. In this Thin Thinking episode, we look at some thin thinking brain breaks that can swap the snacks out for true stress relief and find yourself being more productive and focused to boot. Did you know that our struggle with weight doesn't start with the food on your plate or get fixed in the gym? 80% of our weight struggle is mental. That's right. The key to unlocking long-term weight release and management begins in your mind. Hi there, I'm Rita Black. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, weight loss expert, best-selling author, and the creator of the Shift Weight Mastery process. And not only have I helped thousands of people over the past 20 years achieve long-term weight mastery, I am also a former weight struggler, carb addict, and binge eater. And after 2 decades of failed diets and fad weight loss programs, I lost 40 pounds with the help of hypnosis. Not only did I release all that weight, I have kept it off for 25 years. Enter the Thin Thinking podcast, where you too will learn how to remove the mental roadblocks that keep you struggling. I'll give you the thin thinking tools, skills, and insights to help you develop the mindset you need, not only to achieve your ideal weight, but to stay there long term and live your best life. Hey there! History has been made in my life. I just want to share that all with you. For the first time in 19 years, my husband and I have been alone in our house for almost 2 weeks. Can you believe that? And it has been amazing, especially after a year and a half of us all being together, most of the time under one roof. What a nice break it has been. And my kids are not super high maintenance. I want you to know that, and I love them dearly. But as a parent, if you've been a parent or with kids or other people in your house, you know you always have that part of your brain engaged about what your kid is up to, what they need to be doing. Should I be feeding them? Are they doing their chores? Are they doing their homework? And for almost 2 weeks now, that part of my brain has been on vacation. And I feel like that pre-kid side of my brain is starting to come back to life. And it's been fun. Of course, I miss my son, and my daughter is up at college doing research this summer. She's got an internship. But my husband and I have gotten to know each other as our pre-kid selves, and that has been super fun. So this brings me to our episode today and the value of brain breaks as a daily practice. You know, I've had a kid break, but I really want to dive into this because I really am seeing a new dawning of an era in the idea of brain management. You know, as we learn more and more about the brain, it has come to the fore that our brain is this organ that we kind of take for granted, and we work our brain really hard. And especially in this digital era, our brains are always being stimulated from the moment we get up until the moment we go to bed. Zing, 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 zing. You know, it didn't always used to be like this. I mean, I remember the olden days before the advent of the iPhone or, even the BlackBerry or, even the internet, when you could stare off at the clouds, for a half hour and you didn't feel compelled to reach in your pocket and pull out the thing and scroll or do anything else. Your brain had more downtime than it does nowadays with digital era. So our brains need breaks. And what I have found in my practice, both with smoking and with weight management, is that people have mutated and used smoking and eating as breaks for their brain, kind of unwittingly, So I wanted to look into how we need to take care of our brains and give our brain breaks throughout the day, and alternative ways, much better ways to give our poor brain, these breaks. Because cognitive studies have shown that every 90 minutes or so, our brain needs to kind of have a little downtime or rest for about 2 or 3 minutes, or we get overwhelmed, overstressed. We don't perform as well. And I think a lot of people think they have ADHD or are foggy or not focused, not because they have ADHD or are, foggy or unfocused. It's just because their brain, they aren't shutting off their brain. My husband is way more technical than me. And when something goes wrong with my computer or my phone, my husband, he pretends he's one of those technical guys, those IT guys that comes and he's like, move. And he makes me get up and he has to sit in my chair and he's like, have you turned off your computer? And I was like, no. And he's like, what do I tell you when your computer isn't behaving? What do you do? I was like, turn off my computer. He's like, turn off your computer and turn it back on and it will probably work again, right? Like whatever is going on wrong with it. And he's right. I will turn off my computer, I will turn it back on, and usually what was wrong is right most of the time. But so, to think that our brains, which are like computers, are running 24/7, when we're asleep, they're dreaming, like our brain is on all the time. So it's ridiculous to think that we can keep throwing stuff at our brain all day long and that it's going to keep performing. We need to shut it down, and we need to put it on, do not disturb, and give our brains a timeout, or we are going to start to overdrink, overeat, oversmoke, overuse marijuana, like as a way to escape and shut our brains off. Not because we're bad and we're rebellious and we're horrible and awful, but just because enough is enough. And our brain's like, hey, I need a break. And so it's like, well, if going out and smoking a cigarette for 10 minutes is going to give me a break, I'm going to tell you to go smoke a cigarette. Or if going into the snack room and snacking on a bagel is going to get you away from your computer screen, I'm going to tell you, hey, go get that bagel. So we need to come up with some better brain break ideas to start to take care of these poor brains of ours, or else, we're just gonna, or else those soft addictions are going to keep proliferating. I hope that makes sense. So, because it ain't about the smoking, like people, I work with smokers, and most smokers will admit that, they'll go out and they really want to have that smoke break, but, it's not so much about the cigarette or even the need for nicotine, because people can go without nicotine for long spans of time without feeling withdrawal. But it's the dopamine center in the brain agitating them. It's like, I want that thing, I want that thing, I want that thing. And it doesn't even really want the cigarette. What it wants is 10 minutes outside, where you're not sitting at your screen. So a lot of times our urges for snacks and other things, are really our brain saying, hey, dude, you've been working me too hard. Let's go take a siesta for 10 minutes and give me some downtime. So let's look at some ways that we can do that. My daughter this year, she went away to school, and even though she was not going to classes, she was, in her dorm room, going to college. Ridiculous, but anyway, that's the way that was. That's the way the year rolled. But she and her dorm mate across the way, because they were in singles because of COVID, they would study together. And they did this Pompadour technique, which was 25 minutes super focused study and then 10 minutes off. And the Pompadour technique, I think, was brought by this guy. I don't have his name in front of me right now, but the word Pompadour came from the fact that he used this timer, and he would time it for 25 minutes, and it was in the shape of a tomato. So that's where the Pompadour came in. And a lot of workplaces and productivity studies, and I know college students use this technique as a way to, really focus, then rest your brain, take a break, have a little fun, play on your phone, and then focus, then take a break. And I have begun using my phone to, say, set the timer for 10 minutes and just shut off for 10 minutes and, do something different. And it's such a great technique to just give yourself that timer. I think a lot of smokers, the cigarette is like the perfect 10-minute break. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to smoke a cigarette. And I think a lot of times for especially a lot of parents who are overworked and overdrained, smoking outside gets them away from their kids and gets them, that break that they want or gets them out of the office. And I think it's the same thing with food. We are with our kids and then, nobody's going to follow us into the kitchen. So we'll walk in there and we'll go, oh my God, I don't want to deal with homework anymore. And we'll start snacking. Or the same thing with, in the evening when everybody's being noisy and rowdy and you go in the kitchen and you have that snack, or, you go into the staff room and have that snack. Or you go to the vending machine or whatever, you're getting up from your desk and you're getting away from stimulation or the meeting or whatever it is, and our brain is looking for that break. So what you want to do is, instead of like this idea of taking away, like to smokers, I say, don't think of it as like you're taking away the smoking, but you're creating a new self-care structure. And I say that to my weight management people as well. I'll say, that night eating structure that you have, don't think of it as taking it away, but you're creating a new self-care structure in the evening that doesn't require you to get popcorn, then some chocolate, and then some crackers, 3 different little breaks, but that you're going to create some new self-care structures for your brain. So here are some ideas, and look at your day and think about maybe about every 90 minutes, every 2 hours, to give yourself a little downtime. And you can be very creative with this. I think most people wake up in the morning, and it is really great if you can spend some time just meditating or journaling or walking and thinking about your day, because I think our brain needs kind of to, after coming out of sleep, the brain is a little still in the subconscious state, and we need some time to just like be. And before we run and start doing a bunch of things, that morning walk is a great time, or going and just making a cup of tea or coffee and sitting out, at your dining room table or outside on your patio, and just thinking about your day. It's like a nice brain regrouping time to think your day through. With my weight mastery students and my monthly mastery community, we really believe in that morning meditation time to think the entire day through for success. So we're using that sort of downtime to create a vision for the day. So you're engaging the brain, but in a restful way, not in like, oh my God, I've got to get the lunches together, and I've got to get the, I've got to get in the car, and I've got to race off, and I've got to get to work, and I've got to turn on the, my computer and just start working. You take that time to get your brain sort of set up for success for the day. And then during the day, it's, some ideas are, take a walk. Wherever you are, if you're at work or you're at home, go walk up and down your block. Go, during COVID, I got in the habit of doing that. I would just go outside into my yard, and, powder around in my garden. There was always something to be done. I like gardening. So I was like, oh my God, there's, weeds to be weeded. But it was just so nice to be outside in the dirt, or, looking at, walking down the street and looking at different people's yards. I like that. That's a great break. Or, if you're in an office, going outside and walking around the office building, even, that's getting your blood pumping. Stretching, just making a cup of tea. If you get up and you watch the kettle boil, or do some stretches while the kettle's boiling, that's a nice brain break. It is a meditative state. You go and sit down with that cup of tea and just think about stuff, or you can look at your phone, but the idea is you're not doing focused work, or you're not focused on something. A brain break could even be if you are doing chores in your house. It's just this idea of you're breaking up the day and coming back to yourself, and connecting with yourself and giving your brain a little rest, because you can literally feel like, especially if you've been focused on a screen, your brain kind of coming down, like, you know. If you go sit outside, when the sun hits your eyes, there's something that a chemical, I don't know what the name of that chemical is. I should look that up. That's emitted in your brain that just creates that like, feeling. So getting outside, I think, is such a bonus if you can do that. And, but, just definitely, even when you stop doing something, you can feel your brain sort of, and a lot of times when we take that break, it's when we have those epiphanies of like, oh, that's the solution to that problem. So, look at the clouds, doodle, dance. I love taking dance breaks. I will, shout out to Alexa, some song, some classic rock song, and then just make a fool of myself dancing around my office or dancing down the hall. I don't do that so much at my office, in the office building I work in, but I do that when I'm working from home. I will connect with people. I will call somebody for a break, a brain break. I will connect with somebody, through social media. I mean, and again, I don't necessarily say use your phone all the time, but the idea is to create this structure in your day where you take care of yourself instead of having to reach for food. And once your brain is looking for ideas, your brain's an amazing problem solver. It will come up with ideas. I'm just giving you some. I'm not saying these are the best, but these are ideas to get your brain thinking about it. And now, one thing that I love, love, love to do in the afternoon, if I can, is to take a nap. And again, I call it a power nap because it's short, but it resets my brain completely. And I have read in numerous sources that the brain actually needs to shut down in the afternoon. And I do believe that this is one of the reasons why people start reaching for snacks more in the afternoon, like chocolate and stimulants, because the brain actually really wants to just shut down and take a nap. But if we can't, then we might, try to stimulate ourselves in other ways, including eating. I had a client once who worked, I love this story. She worked on the set of when Julia Child, the chef, and Jacques Papin, the chef, were working together, and they shot that famous series. If you're old like me, you probably remember it. It was not that long ago, maybe a decade and a half ago. So as sometimes like in the early 2000s, I think. But this was, and Julia Child at the time was, God, I want to say late 70s, early 80s. Like she was fairly, she was up there a little bit. But, she was Julia Child, like nobody messes with her, right? So Julia every afternoon had in her contract that she got a 9-minute nap. And she got so mad if you let her sleep over her 9 minutes, but she got mad if you let her, if you interrupted her before her 9 minutes. So she was very particular about exactly 9 minutes. And I get it, because that's about the perfect time. You don't need a big old hour-long nap. That's too long. That then will make you groggy. But there's this, it's almost like shutting off a light switch and turning it back on, taking a quick little power nap in the afternoon. And I've done this at a desk. I've done this sitting in a chair. If you get into the practice of it, you don't need a bed, but it is awesome. And I have clients, again, I work in Hollywood, so I work with a lot of people who run companies like startups and, people who are younger than me, who are like, have big ideas and different ways of thinking. And, I have a lot of these guys saying, hey, yeah, I've built a meditation room in my offices. So my clients and my employees can go in and they can, go and chill out. And I find that they're far more productive that way because they're happier. We have Facebook here, we have Google. Those companies try to provide, you know, like spaces for their employees to hang too, so that they aren't always on, but in that downtime, they get creative. I know those companies also overfeed their clients and have far too many snack foods around, and that's how they become my clients. But they're also trying to promote, like, hey, we want you to chill so that we know that you can be focused and creative and productive. So, this idea that we have to push ourselves all the way through an 8-hour workday, I think it works against us and not for us. Um, Napping, um, even sitting in the driveway as you pull up as a brain break before you go in, and just taking a moment to say, okay, what's tonight about? Like, let me just take a moment to settle before I go in, because for a lot of people, we struggle with the eating, right when we walk in the door and going to kind of unwind with food. Well, why don't we unwind in our driveway and kind of settle ourselves so that we don't have to go in and unwind with a glass of wine or a beer or cheese and crackers? So these are just some ideas, but what I want you to start to think about is your self-care structure, because your life is individual to you, and where you need your breaks in your brain might be different than me. And then even in the evening, again, I think we need some breaks in our evening. You could do a dance break or stretches, or, if you need to get away from the kids. When my kids were young, I used to hide out in the bathroom and read trashy magazines like People and OK. And, it was like, oh my gosh, it was like cocaine. I'm telling you, reading those trashy magazines, because you didn't really have to read them. You just looked at them and they were just amazing. Nowadays, now we have our phones with all the images, or TikTok and all that stuff. So, but, think again about your brain and, taking a hot bath, beautiful breaks to give yourself. So I'm going to teach you one technique, two techniques actually, that are really great little quick breaks that you can do. They're super duper easy. And hopefully you will love them. So, what you do, the first one is just the deep breath 5. And the deep breath 5 is super simple, but this really does help center your brain. And that's just take a breath. You've probably done this a million times before, but I'm going to remind you of it. So you take a deep breath in through your nose to the count of 5. And out through your mouth for the count of 5. And in through 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, in through the nose and out through the mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5. Try it with me. In through the mouth, nose, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out of the mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. You can see how, like, just doing that, just sitting there, like some people, when they become non-smokers, are like, oh, what I really liked about smoking was just the deep breath. And I was like, yeah, now you can do it as a non-smoker too. Call it your non-smoking breath. But you can call that your shift breath. That's what I do with my groups, is we start to take our shift breath and connect with ourselves and just come back to our body and come back to our brain. We spend so much of our day outside of ourselves and, taking care of everybody and everything. And when you just come back and connect with yourself, it's a powerful thing. Okay, the other technique, it's called hakalau, and it's a Hawaiian meditation technique. It's kind of cool. So what you do, and it's super easy, what you do is you stare right in front of you at whatever you're staring at, and then you move your eyes up to where the wall meets the ceiling, and that seam. So you're going to look at the seam, you're going to stare at the seam, and then you're going to take your left eye, and you're going to move your left eye to the left corner, and you're going to move your right eye to the right corner. So you'll do that at the same time. So you're kind of separating your gaze into two separate places. I'm doing this right now as I'm telling you this. And what it does is, when you do this long enough and you just breathe, you get into this nice little trance state. It's kind of trippy. It's not, you don't levitate or anything like that, but it's just like, you can do this at your office. You can do this, in your bedroom. You can do this, sitting not on a bus, but, like you can do this in any space. And it just gives you, like, if you have 2 minutes just to do it, just puts you in a different mind space, and it can calm you down. And it just mellows you out. It's called Hak Allow. So that is my little Hawaiian treat for you. And, you're going to need to be disciplined about this, meaning, like, most people are like, I can't take a break. If I could take a break, then, we get all weird about giving ourselves permission to take a break. You need to give yourself permission, or you're probably going to eat. So set your timer, take your phone out, go, set it for 5 minutes, set it for 10 minutes, start at 2 and work up from there. It takes discipline, because when we struggle with our weight, we don't make ourselves a priority in our life. And you need to start making your brain and resting your brain a priority. I swear it will change your life, and you will feel more rested. You'll feel more composed. And when you're taking care of your brain, you have more willpower. You have more ability to say no, because your brain is stronger. You're strengthening your brain by taking better care of it. And I think your biggest challenge to all of this will be giving yourself permission to do it and make it a project. All right, so remember to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't, so you never miss an episode. The link is in the show notes, and leave me a message if you have any ideas for upcoming episodes. And have an amazing week. And remember that the key, and probably the only key, to unlocking the door of the weight struggle is inside you. So keep listening and find it. Do you want to dive deeper into the mindset of long-term weight release? Head on over to www.shiftweightmastery.com. That's www.shiftweightmastery.com, where you'll find numerous tools and resources to help you unlock your mind for permanent weight release, tips, strategies, and more. And be sure to check the show notes to learn more about my book, From Fat to Thin Thinking: Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss.